Welcome, Sangha. Everybody please silence your phones. At some point, Heartwood will hold a refuge and temporary ordination ceremony during Dharma. Sangha members who have already participated in the ceremony are welcome to participate and repeat the 5 vows. Please wear white and bring a flower or incense offering. Please come connect with the earth and support Heartwood by lending your hands, mulching, weeding, and beautifying the grounds this Saturday on the 22nd of May from 9 to noon. If rain enters the forecast, we will potentially move the service day to Friday the 21st. Please bring gloves and any other implements you would like to use. We look forward to seeing everybody there. Retreats coming up: Wild Heart Spring Retreat with Andrew Chapman and Reverend Mikey. How do you say Mikey's last name? Reverend Mikey Noshel. May 24th to 31st this year. Registration information is on the website. Venerable Panawati is offering a new book study, tentatively beginning on this Friday at 4 p.m. or maybe the 21st at 4 p.m. The book is going to be announced. If interested in joining, you can register on the Heartwood website under book study. The Novena prayers are now occurring monthly every third Thursday between 5:45 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The next one is this Thursday, May 20th. We invite you to join us on our YouTube page. Please send your confidential prayer requests for yourself or your loved ones, including pets, those who are sick, suffering misfortune, or departed. The email is prayer@heartwoodrefuge.org. Fully vaccinated Sangha members are invited to Heartwood for Sunday Dharma in the Dharma Hall. We have overflow in the Bodhi Hall. Is that right? Thrifty Treasures, Heartwood's new endeavor, will help us continue our mission and social projects as Heartwood has always done and continues to do. We are looking for volunteer support. To volunteer, email thriftytreasureswnc@gmail.com. Please visit, like, and share our Facebook page at Thrifty Treasures WNC. Donations and Donna, we thank you so much for all the ways that you help enrich the whole Heartwood community. Please visit the Heartwood homepage and click on Giving option to see all the ways that you can help support Heartwood. And in addition, please like, follow, and share Heartwood on all social media to help spread the Dharma. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see everybody. Thank you to our residents who made the Dharma Hall so ready this morning. Thank you to our community members who are here and our online community. Thank you for your kind attention this morning. Thank you for joining us. Heartwood is a remarkable opportunity. Okay. Heartwood is a remarkable opportunity that hasn't arisen without cause and condition. Heartwood community is a product of your gifts, your talents, your contributions of your spiritual practice. And I say this to our online guests and our residents and our monks and nuns, and the community extends far beyond just the boundaries of this property. And more now than ever, I think, is a ripe opportunity, speaking again of causes and conditions. We speak of the Dhamma as a stable formation. And together, as we hold that formation, that's what sustains this community. That is what enriches the possibilities for the continuation of the Dhamma. That's what enriches the possibilities that this facility becomes sustainable. And we need everyone to continue. We need your gifts, your prayers, your love, your presence, and your contribution. But we need everyone to perfect their practice. And this is the primary goal. All these things that are important in a temporal way, the substantial thing, the things we feel that are substantial, our finances, our work, and so forth like that. Things that seem substantial are very important, but there needs to be some heart effort also behind that, that is generating that and creating a fertile soil, cultivating a fertile soil for the continuation of Heartwood and the Buddha Dharma for another generation to come. I want to start our chat this morning by sort of recapping or summarizing some of the teachings that we've been listening to and sharing over the last month here at Heartwood. We've been speaking about cultivation. Some of us are attending classes about the idea of cultivation. We've been talking about causality, how recognizing that how we create our life moment by moment, there's a cause and effect relationship. Things are dependently originated. The question arises, I think, the thread that has been going through all these teachings that we've been focusing on lately, there continues to arise the question is, what do we do to accomplish this? Why is it, what propensity do we have that causes us to neglect, to be neglectful or ignorant of our practice? Sometimes we hear so many talks and so many ideas, we become enamored with a concept of enlightenment or concept of practice. And it goes back to a concept of being, a concept of who we are, who we imagine ourselves to be. And the Buddha addressed this very directly. And for those of us who have a scholarly inclination, I'm going to make a few references to some texts in the Pali Canon. But first I want to mention Majjhima Nikaya number 2. I'll give us a second for those who are at home or whoever is taking notes. You'll want to write that down. We've learned from our lesson on causation. Let's just take the first 3 links of the chain, if we want to refer to it like that. We talk about dependent origination as a chain of causation. And the chain starts out as ignorance. With the presence of ignorance as a condition, there's a possibility of formations. Dependent on ignorance arises formations. And with the condition of formations, there arises consciousness. If we just take that one piece, just that one segment, we don't have to drill. I'm not going to unpack that doctrine and drill real deep into it, but let's just hold that for a moment. In contemplating the reference to Majjhima Nikaya number 2, the Buddha sort of unpacks it in this way. He said, an inexperienced, ordinary worldly person without training, it doesn't discern what's wholesome and what's unwholesome. And when an unwholesome formation has arisen, they don't They don't know how to discourage the unwholesome formation or encourage the wholesome formation. Here's the thread again. Here's the connection to this teaching on cultivation. And cultivation is, if we're growing a garden, we have to be able to distinguish, well, what's between the difference between a vegetable plant and a weed. We've got to recognize the difference between the two. And this, again, comes down to practice, to learning that. There are some weeds that the roots go very, very deep. And maybe we have a good intention. I'm just going to pull this weed up, and we go to pull the weed up, and it just rips the leaves off, but the root is still fastened deeply into the ground. And there's other things. There's other plants that just come up very easily. We discourage them from growing. And as we soften the ground and we till the soil, it becomes easier and easier to uproot the things that we don't want, to uproot the kind of formations that arise. I'm using the metaphor of plants again. It becomes easier to discourage the things we don't want and to encourage the things that we do want. And in a nutshell, that's cultivation. And we can get a spiritual concept of what we imagine in the future, what we expect from our practice. But it actually takes this mechanical process of really learning and knowing and understanding. And we need a way to recognize. We need some marker to recognize what's the wholesome thing and the unwholesome thing. And I'm going to share a sutta with you, and I think it's very basic. And we can refer to it as a gardening tool if we want to do that. Think about this process again. And I want to back up a second and apply it to our role as a Sangha member in a community, in a garden. The Sangha is really, that's what the Sangha is. It's a garden. It's a network of interrelated, if we could, let's say, species. We have ordained monks and nuns. We have lay people. We have white-robed followers who've taken the precepts. And we have friends and guests from all around the world. And so that's an example of, say, the different plantings, the different ways that we're rooted in the Dharma, that we're cultivating. This is not a deep understanding. This is something that we can look at the basic elements and try to understand. Good morning. So I invite your contemplative attention with me as I speak. And invite that as kind of a meditation. If you'll allow this word into your contemplative environment for just a few minutes, for an hour this afternoon. So thinking about the Sangha as a garden, as an environment of interdependent species or types of practitioners, if you will. I feel a reference to another thing I want to sort of refer to metaphorically. There's a doctrine in Buddhism that the Buddha gave us a way to recognize the depth of our practice. He called talked about stream entry, entering the stream. And I don't want to unpack that doctrine right now, but just want to use that as another metaphorical reference. that we can use in our contemplations this afternoon. You think about entering the stream, there's a movement. There's a vitality of movement in the river and the stream as the water flows through the environment. And as that refers to the Dharma, there's some of us that maybe we're only ready to just go in, to just wade in, to take off our tennis shoes. Just get our feet wet a little bit. And that's okay. That's okay. It's to learn to get the temperature of the water, the sensation of the water. There's others, we just want to wade into our belly button. You know, we're not really ready to go, you know, head first into the thing yet. But as we're sort of cultivating mindfulness, we gradually move into that stream and we feel the energy of the pull of the water and the depth and the color and the movement. And there's some of us that just want to dive in and go all the way and learn to navigate. So now it gets confusing sometimes to mix so many metaphors. But I'm talking about Heartwood individually. I'm talking about the Sangha collectively and in general. I'm talking about cultivating a spiritual practice and what differentiates a serious practitioner, a devotee, we can use that word, a renunciate, a devotee, an ordained person, a person who's taken vows and commitments, a person who has responsibilities, a person who's willing to open themselves to another person's energy and feel where they're at and be sensitive to that. In gardening, we call that companion planting. We've got a marigold and a tomato plant, and they offer each other benefits. Okay, so what differentiates us, speaking of us as a Sangha, from the untrained person who doesn't know what a milkweed from a tomato plant, who doesn't know how to turn the ground? What differentiates us? Why is it that where do we get off the boat? Why do we fail? What are the loopholes in our practice? What are the excuses that we have when we have such a wealthy, rich, and I want to say precious opportunity? And this life, in the large landscape of this life, it's a precious opportunity. In some traditions, we hope for a heaven or look to a divine figure outside of ourselves, and we try to cradle some vain. That's not fair, is it? Maybe it's not vain. But we want to cradle some hope for some other life and other space and other reality. But this life and this moment is a precious moment. To speak of, Master Thich Nhat Hanh says, he always uses that phrase over and over, and this moment is a precious moment. This very moment. And our Heartwood Sangha has really come to a sort of a maturity of expression, and it's a precious opportunity for cultivation. It's a precious opportunity for companion planting, that we can root out the things, the undesirable formations, and encourage the fruitful, nourishing, productive formations. And I don't want our friends at home and on the internet, and our extended community afar too. I'm speaking to us as well, wherever we might be in the world. We're connected. we're connected, not just your internet connection or your attendance today, and that plays a really important part. Because the Buddha nature is arising everywhere through you as you implement what we're talking about in these lessons. So what's the difference? How do we come to this understanding? I myself have chosen over the years to choose some specific practices that we historically attribute to the Buddha himself, that we gained from studying the Pali Canon. And that's certainly not the only stream of Buddhism that has rich and helpful teachings, but that is what I've relied on to a great degree in my practice. For some of us, it's a shift. Some of us who have come from other traditions, it's a shift. And we often hear that there's 12 this and 8 that, and 3 modes of this, and different things. And let's not get overwhelmed by that. And I want to talk about Master Thich Nhat Hanh again, who always says such inspiring things. But something that moved me one time was when he said, don't try to learn everything. You can't intellectually wrap your head around everything, and just storing this stuff in your head helps a little. But just storing information in your head doesn't make you a practitioner. But he said, take one thing and just practice it really well. You know, you can imagine, not all of us can have a garden, but maybe we live in an apartment, we just have a potted plant that we put out on the porch. And there's so much we can learn about cultivation. You know, we come home from work and the plant looks a little wonky. You know, maybe there's some nutrient missing in the soil, maybe it needs some water. But getting back to practice, the real practice is that we actually have to get our hands in the dirt and figure out what's going on. So yeah, we're going to hear a lot of teaching, and it's good. It's good. So we're in the stream, we're moving, and that's what's important. We're in the stream, we're getting wet, we're feeling the current. You know, things float by. Sometimes we can catch things as they float by. But if we can just take one thing though and digest it and dig deep into it, let it dig deep into us, let it turn over the soil. My nose itches. Sorry I had to do that. Anyway, so what I've done over the years is I've selected specific passages from Buddhist scripture that give us detailed instructions, and try not to get overwhelmed by the whole, panoply. We're not going to use every tool in the tool shed every day. But if we could take a few things, a few of the key things, and become adept and skilled at using them to cultivate, it becomes very helpful. So how do we understand? This is for those scholars out there, this is Samyutta Nikaya 22-23. And because we speak English, we don't use the tilde, but this is a Pali word, parinya, kind of runs together. We can't say ninya very well, but Parinya Sutta. And we translate into English into comprehension. sometimes say knowledge. But this translator, very skilled translator, chose comprehension. So again, I want to bring up that question, what is it? What is it that we understand that differentiates us, it empowers us and differentiates us from an unskilled worker into a skilled worker? And it's comprehension. Comprehension of what? Okay. Monks. And this goes for everybody. Monks. I will teach you the phenomena to be comprehended as well as comprehension. Listen and pay close attention, I will speak. Okay, so phenomena needs to be comprehended. And what is phenomena? We know something is a phenomena if it has a beginning and a middle, an appearance, and a passing away. We know that it's what? From our lessons, we know that that's what?
Temporal.
It's temporal, it's impermanent. What else?
Perception.
What else?
It's form.
Yeah, there's form there. It's not self. It's not self. It's not a permanent component of our self. We know that it's a phenomenon. We know that it's dependently originating. It's riding on something. It's dependent on causes and conditions. So he said we need to pay close attention. As you say, Lord, the monks responded. The Blessed One said, and which are the phenomena to be comprehended? And I found this to be an essential tool. Which are the phenomena to be comprehended? Someone just said form a moment ago. Form is a phenomenon to be comprehended. Well, where is form? Is it just in the Dharma hall? Is it only in the Dharma hall? No. It's a diversity of form. We can find form anywhere. First, we find it in our own being, or the phenomena of being in the body. The form of being a human being needs to be fully comprehended. Of course, this is English. This word comes from Latin. You think of the word apprehend. What happens when the police are chasing a suspect and they apprehend the suspect? They bring that suspect into custody. Comprehension is still a little different prefix. They apprehend, they reach out and grab that. Comes from prendere in Latin. Comprehend means to get around it, to circle it, to take it inside, to seize it, take it inside of ourselves. So let's say we need to recognize phenomena and surround it with our attention, surround it with our mindfulness. And form is a phenomenon to be comprehended. We're never going to run out of form. Even if by some ripening of karma, we encounter complete liberation and enlightenment in this lifetime, we're still going to encounter form. Either within this temporal body or in other diversity. Form is to be comprehended, and it's a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. How difficult is it to observe that? A conversation is a form. It's a form of words, a discussion, a dispute, an argument. Form is a phenomenon to be comprehended. Feeling is a phenomenon to be comprehended. Feeling has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And going back to causation, what is that? Contact. We're touched or being touched. And there's a consciousness arising from that. And that consciousness is called what? Feeling. Feeling. And because it's a conditioned phenomenon, it's what? What is it? It's not self, is it? That is to say, we use the words me, I, and myself, but I can't positively contain that. Some people may try to be angry forever, but you can't be angry forever. One day you'll die and that anger just go with you somewhere. So, just taking each one of these, and these things act on each other. They have a cumulative effect. They act on each other. They're companion plants in our garden of experience. Perception. And that's when things start working together here. Perception, the way we see things, the way we look at things. If we've touched a form, so we have a feeling, so we perceive it in a certain way. That perception is conditioned. It's conditioned on our feeling. It's conditioned on contact. It's conditioned on the object of the moment. He says that's to be fully comprehended. How do you pay attention to paying attention? How do we pay attention to paying attention? Are we paying attention to paying attention? I came out of a Christian tradition earlier in life, and we sort of ambiguously grasped the teachings of Jesus as sort of a almost ethereal, to try and grasp. But he said simple things like, love your neighbor as yourself. If he said you do this, you fulfill the commandments of God. Love your neighbor as yourself. And as I matured in my life and in my experience, in my relationships and all those sort of things that we have, I thought, well, how does my mind, how does my attention, how does my beingness move off? How does the attention move off of that, off of loving myself, off of loving my neighbor as myself? And that's something we weren't taught. We weren't taught that we needed to make them sort of mechanical. That's not really a good word. But that's something we need to cultivate. It doesn't happen. It doesn't just happen. It's Jesus doesn't just bink you with a magic wand and you just suddenly love everybody, or you suddenly love yourself the way you should. It's from maintaining contemplative attention and comprehending the scope of what that means. It means being. Well, let me come back to this. Holding a respectful contemplative space within ourselves on a reoccurring or a continuous basis is possible in the here and now. And we fuss and we complain and we argue. We say, I don't understand that. It has to be fully comprehended. We have to really just take it in and wrap ourselves around it. And when we're hearing a conversation, are we hearing form, feeling, phenomenon? We're hearing form, feeling, perception. Are we seeing that unfolding? Are we still stuck in our habit, the habitual way of seeing things, on just superficial way of seeing things? Human beings only can see I don't know the exact facts of all this. I'm not a scientist, but human beings can only see a small part of the light spectrum. And we think we're seeing all of what's present in this beautiful spring day. The plants, the birds, the sky, all of our lovely friends. We think that we really see that as it is. We're really just seeing a superficial aspect of it. The dogs and cats can see more than we can. They can hear more than we can. Scientists say we only use part of our brain. We only use 10% of our brain. I think maybe that's not true in the sense that our brain is always functioning all the time, but we're only accessing some superficial part of our intelligence or our capacity or what our potential really is. So, in our conversation, are we understanding form? Are we understanding feeling? Maybe we understand one thing better than the other. It's possible. Form, feeling, perception, fabrications. And as we learned before, Master's been teaching us about dependent origination, causality, what causes things to happen, what causes phenomenon to occur. Somehow, we still got a story about things. Somehow that the mind is still generating cartoons and, drawing its own conclusions about things. Are we still in the habit of that? Is there really a way to comprehend that? And yes, there is. There is. We can comprehend that. We can comprehend that. We can comprehend the reality that, okay, I'm in a set of circumstances and I've learned a lot of Dharma. I got a lot of book knowledge and I meditate. I try to be kind to my neighbor and all that stuff. But somehow every time I get with something, person, place, or thing, I got a story about it. I'm making something of it. I'm making more of it than it really is. Why am I doing that? It's good to just take this tool and just learn to use it very well. The only thing I'm going to go in the garden with, the only thing I got is a little hand spade. Then, regardless of the size of my planting, that's the tool I have. I better know how to use it very well. That's why the Buddha gave us these suttas like this. If you're studying, you're going to Dharma classes, you're studying, you're reading books, you're trying to get something out of it, just take one thing and use your meditative capability, whatever it is, whatever tradition you're used to doing, if it's yoga or Christianity or prayer, contemplative prayer, jhana, all these things, to the best of our ability. Let's adopt these tools. Start cultivating. This is something I need to do as well. And I rely heavily on little things like this. This little short sutta. Look, it's only like one paragraph. Learn that there's form, feeling, perception, fabrications really are a problem, aren't they? And then fifth item that needs to be comprehended as it truly is, consciousness. And I think we're talking about here, let's just think about it as basic awareness. Don't think about that as some kind of mystical energy or tapping into a deeper stream of evolution or enlightenment. You don't need to do that. That'll come by itself. Just awareness, just awareness. What am I aware of? Is that awareness me? Is it something that comes and goes? Is that something pertaining to the object of attention? So these 5 things work together. Sometimes they result, the combination of contacts there, they act on each other and they have different results. Different things arise. And these 5 components the Buddha referred to, and some of us know this from studying, that those are called the 5 aggregates. Our experience is composed of these 5 piles of stuff. We've got a sand pile here, a rock pile there, a mulch pile there, a pile of wood there. And we combine those elements and we have a landscape project to work on. And the spiritual landscape in the substantial or the exterior world is our community of monks, nuns, lay people, lay followers, meditators, participating together, growing together, planning together, working together. And then there's the interior. There's our interior environment of cultivation. And somehow these need to connect. They need to combine. And they're going to combine and they're going to recombine. And sometimes form and feelings come in the form of, God, there it is, they come in the form. Form comes the way we don't want it to come. We don't feel good about it. What we're in contact with at the moment doesn't feel good. So we make up a story about how it doesn't feel good, and we complain about it to each other. And we want somebody to fix us, or we want to fix somebody. We can't. We can only work. We need to work on our own little cultivation project, learning to use our tools. And when we come out into the larger scope of duties and responsibilities out here, we can begin to observe fresh growth, fresh fruit, fresh possibilities, fresh causes and conditions that bring about more wholesome results, reflecting on what's the difference. I've been practicing Dharma for 20 years. Why am I still doing this? Why am I still getting these imaginations and creating these stories? I mean, think about what you do when you see one of these lovely rhododendron flowers over here in front of the building. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Perfection. They're extraordinary. They're pink. They're elegant. They're complex. The bees love them. See how I create a story about that? But we're trying to train to just breathe in and embrace that and hold that. Let that be part of our experience without getting trapped in the cause and effect thing of it, and projecting that on each other. That's what we do. That's what we do, isn't it? Yeah. So the 5 aggregates are the components of experience that we put together to create an idea of self. I'm a monk, I'm a nun, I'm a practitioner, all who wander are not lost. There's all the paths lead to the top of the mountain, yada, 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 rainbows and unicorns. All these stories we create about who we are, where we're going. I'll wrap this up. So, the Buddha said, what's comprehension then? If there's these things and there's a distinction between you and some ignorant person who doesn't follow any kind of rules. How do you know that there's comprehension? How do I know there's comprehension? And which is comprehension? Any ending? The Four Noble Truths. Everybody knows the Four Noble Truths? There's a beginning, there's something causing it. There's something that makes it decline, and there's a path to follow to cause its decline, right? So what's the ending of, what is comprehension? It's the ending of passion, aversion, and delusion. That's how we know that we've penetrated, that our meditation, our cultivation is productive, because it's producing something, because we see an end. We can stand back at the end of the day and say, man, whew, there were so many weeds in that garden, I couldn't believe it. But it was really worth it to get out there and dig and sweat and get dirty, and it gets on you. It gets on you. But to see the end of it, this is called Narota Cessation. We talk about the Four Noble Truths. The Narota, the cessation, is that we actually see it stop. And there's nothing like having the experience. If we've held on to something all of our life, we're accustomed to it being there. We don't even know it's there. But if I have the experience of, wow, that was something new. I dropped an object, and there was a feeling of letting go that I've never felt before, a sense of liberation. Just that little bit of letting go of that passion. What does he mean by passion? You say, well, I'm a musician, I'm an artist. I got to have passion, I got to get behind this with my energy. That's a good thing. I'm not talking about that. Buddha wasn't talking about that. He's talking about how you get so wound up and emotionally disturbed, perturbed, upset, because we want something to be different than it is. And when we fully penetrate with our comprehension and our contemplative effort, we fully begin to see this in our moment-to-moment reactivity and activity. We see that those are transparent formations. We can start to see some of the ending of the passion, the drama. Getting behind it and pushing it, trying to strive to get our position, trying to strive to get our point across, trying to change the other person's attitude. So there's a drive, there's some impetus in us that's pushing, that we can feel it, and it's in a meditative environment, we can feel that with our mindfulness. We can feel the movement of our diaphragm, the anxiety in our body. We can feel it. We can feel it go out. The ending of aversion, of I don't want to go in the garden today. It's hot. There ain't no shade. I got to dig in the dirt. I don't want to do that. That's what we got to do. We have to get behind this. We have to get underneath. We have to get to the root of things, And that's called comprehension. That's called comprehension. Fully having embraced or wrapped ourselves around what the moment is bringing. And the ending of delusion. That's the hardest one. That's really the hardest one. Because getting back down to brass tacks, we're still making stuff. We're still making stories. And we believe them stories. Those stories. Correct my grammar. I'm from the South. This is redneck Dharma. Don't make no trouble, won't be no trouble. That's the hardest thing, is the delusion. The self-delusion, the concept of person, and I'm person, and I have these specific boundaries that I've fabricated, about who I am and where I've been and where I'm going, And now I gave up all that. I traded that, and now I've traded that out. Now I'm a spiritual person now. Swap that out. Just swap one thing out for another. And the Buddha said that's how we move along through life, like a monkey grabs one branch, swings to the other branch, lets go of that branch, swing to another branch. So we keep going through life trading one story for another story. And it's really prevalent in our culture. We got to keep our story straight all the time. Where are you from? What do you do? Who are you? I'm vice president of, development at blah, 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 and, all that. Who I am in this conflict, who I am in this that's the story. That's how we weave the story. And that is the most difficult part. We can get a palpable, this horse isn't dead, I'm going to keep beating it. Okay? There's a palpable sensibility that we should be gaining in our meditative attainment. And it's not a mystical intervention. It's not a divine intervention. It's not tapping into a higher consciousness and being one with the cosmos. It's getting a detailed schematic of the landscape that's right here and now. And when the Christianity, we used to say, in the sweet by and by, we'll meet on the beautiful shore. And we need to be in the sour here and now. Embracing the weeds, embracing the dirt, and dealing with what's really present right here in the moment. And there's a palpable sensibility that we should be gaining, whatever meditation practice we are, no matter if we just stick our foot in the stream, if we just have now touched the stream and we feel, oh, that's water. Some of us are deep. Some of us have said, I'm going all the way. I want to get it all in this lifetime. It's great. Wherever you're at, it's great. It's a perfect place. You're in exactly where you need to be. But the key is just to take advantage of that. Passion, we can feel. We can feel it, a welling up of reaching and wanting. We feel that pull. We can feel a pull on us, and we're sitting and meditating. That our attention wants to go out to something. Or move here, move there. Or we're agitated. There's some sensation in our body, we're agitated. That's just information, is all that is. So we feel a passion and aversion, passion and aversion, passion and aversion. I'm going here, I'm going there. There's something in the middle. That's why this is called the middle way. That's why we call it the middle way. Because it's not one sense of being as opposed to another sense of being. It's not that I'm an ignorant worldling that doesn't know anything about anything, going my own way. Or I'm not over here. I'm not the spiritual person who's climbing one of those paths to the top of the mountain. It's not being caught in those concepts of being. It's being right here. It's coming back to the middle. That's what I call the middle way, being here. But delusion is the most difficult thing. Because in our meditative experience, we can get a palpable sensation of this energy within us and where we're divesting and investing, where the leaks are, what the wholesome things are, what the unwholesome things are. We can get a sense of that. But the delusion really, really requires a lot of attention, demands a lot of attention. And I want to pick on the heart community for a minute. This is for all of us, folks at home and everything, but I want to pick on us just right in the room for a minute. This is something we really need to work with. It's very difficult to put a finger on. Because we can't see our own narcissism, you know. It's easy to tell ourselves a story and believe in it. And we got to accept the reality that we might still be doing that, you know. And I just say this because that's something for me. I'm taking that as something for me. Because I can feel my energy going out into things. You know, there's places I don't like to go, places I want to go. I've learned it. I've learned that in my heart. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that there's an aim to the meditation. If there's an aim at all, that there's this aim to know thyself, to that own self be true. And delusion is very, very sneaky, very slippery. And before you know it, there's little weeds popping up here and there. Because you took your eye off the garden for one day, you turn your back, and all of a sudden the next day there's a bunch of weeds there. Like, why am I still doing this? Been on this path for, the Buddha said, a couple of years. Then he said, no, just a few months, 6 months. No, just 2 months. He said, no, if you do it for a week. And he said, no. You know, maybe you could just do it in a couple days if you really if you applied yourself to it. You know? And the reason we call it heartwood, because when you get down to the core of it, that's where the truth is. And at the core, hoping with it we can unfold and find something really pure, really lovely. And if we have any ambition or goal to achieve, that it's rooted in that. And that we will see the fruit of that in this very lifetime. In this very lifetime. But that's how we know. Because we can see an end to it. We can see an end to it in our friends, our neighbors, our Sangha members. You know, see it in ourselves first. I see our times come to an end. And I'm just going to close us out and thank you for your love and your cooperation and your devoting your intelligence and attention in the moment. And remind everyone to keep our Venerable Masters in prayer. Holding up Venerable Panyawati, who's experiencing some illness in the body. That too will pass. And so, may we all be well, safe, and happy, content in our spiritual practice, stabilized in our attention, and find liberation in this very life. May all be well.
I did just want to make one quick announcement that the ordination and taking of the precepts that was going to happen today will happen next week.